Hi guys, my apologies for being so late.
No problem, Member Valencia. You're good. Madam Chair, floor is yours.
Okay, great. So we have a quorum now, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'll go ahead and call today's Sustainability and Resiliency meeting to order at 3:37 p.m. And we'll start in right with a moment of silent meditation and the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Second. Perfect, Madam Chair. Now roll call. Member Valencia,
Present.
Member Kirk,
Present.
Chairperson Carpenter.
Present.
We have a quorum, Madam Chair. For the record, I'm here, Liaison Nickerson, Mr. Hugh Gladwin, who acts the more or less consultant, and we have Chief Magnuson with us today also. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Perfect, thank you. So we'll start in with the approval of the agenda. I think right off the bat, since Member McLean is gone, we probably should take off H2, the standard El Portal resiliency presentation. I think that's the only change I see. Does anybody else have any other changes?
That works for me. I'll second that change.
Okay, great. So any other changes, Sandra or Mayor Nickerson?
Yes, Madam Chair. Let's go with. I want to add something. H1. Move everything down. We'll have H1. I want Chief Magnuson with an update. COVID and hurricane update for Chief Magnuson on H1.
Okay. Okay. Any other changes? No? Okay, great. So we'll update the agenda with the new H1 and remove the former H2. And can I guess I'll get a motion for that?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the agenda as verbally amended.
Okay, and second?
I'll second.
Perfect. All those in favor of amending the agenda as just stated, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, the agenda is approved, and we'll move on to approval of minutes from the following meetings. Anybody have any changes to those?
No, I think Mr. Nickerson did a wonderful job of taking notes.
It was under the inspiration of Member Kirk.
Wonderful.
You're definitely going to miss those notes from you, Kearney. Whenever you're leaving, you're going to miss it.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
So I'll move to approve the notes from our prior task force meeting.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor of approving the meetings from the prior task force, say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, the minutes are approved. And we will move on to AF, acknowledgement of visitors and special presentations.
We have none today, Madam Chair. The floor is yours.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And we'll go on to good and welfare. And we have Mr. Gladwin here, but I don't see anybody else in attendance. Mr. Gladwin, anything on good and welfare? Okay, great. So we'll move on to agenda item 1, and I will turn the floor over to Chief Magnuson.
Thank you, ma'am, and good afternoon, everybody. I have two things. The first one is just a small COVID update. And, in the past couple of sessions, there really wasn't much to add. I think now, just as a resiliency group, there may be something coming down the pike, whether it has to do with spring break or not, because the areas are now going with what they're fearful of is a fourth wave. And it's north of us. It's in the middle part of the country. That doesn't mean anything. It'll find its way here. But you couple this with people or leaders, so-called leaders, that chose now to restrict and remove mask mandates at this time, and they're still going to go on with it. Alabama still claim they're going to continue on with that. I think you're sort of tempting fate right now. when things were going well. So it's just something to keep in mind. I suspect with what's gone on with the, and we won't know for sure till the end of April with the spike that comes here from the spring break. But this fourth wave is coming around the country. And the kids seem to be getting affected more than any other previous wave, 10 to 19. But the thing that seems to jump out is that if you go back to 2020, Italy started it, then the rest of Europe. Well, Paris is locked down again and Italy's going through it again. Maybe it's cautionary. It's not to play Chicken Little or something. It's just that, if you don't go back to history and look at what took place, quite frankly, you're a fool. And thankfully, the vaccine hesitancy is waning a little bit. More people, there are big jumps on people wanting to take the vaccine, and even more so, they seem happy and celebratory once they take it. That's a great sign. But this wave is coming. It seems that way, unless something is done quickly around the country to stop it. And if that's the case, this is something to keep an eye on. I mean, I like to use the boxing metaphors, as the American well attests to. We're in the 10th round of a fight. We're ahead on points, but I can tell you how many times fighters got cocky and got knocked out in the 11th or 12th round thinking they had it in the bag. So I think that's where we are right now as a nation. It's not as bad here in Florida, but I think that'll change because we haven't, there hasn't been enough time to see the effects of the spring break. And then everything else, people coming down to visit and these variants that we've talked about in the past, the 117 and the P1 from Brazil and the South African one. So it's just to give some caution out there, and I think the masks are a good thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with them, the distancing, and just keep doing what we're doing. And I think that's something that needs to get hammered home day after day, night after night. And by and large, I think in El Portal, they do a very good job. Miami-Dade County, by and large, minus the spring breakers, I think they do a pretty good job. It's just something I want to put out there. I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. Hopefully I'm wrong, but there's just too many people that are in the science world that are far, far brighter than me that are giving a reason to be cautious and be concerned. So I seem to listen to the experts when I hear them, and I don't know better than them. I take notes. So that's that first part on COVID. Second part's a little bit more jovial if you want to consider hurricanes jovial in comparison, but I think you're going to like where this is going. I sent this out to the manager and mayor yesterday. There's a study out of the University of South Florida. It's a hurricane research team. And I took the survey, though I'm not a resident, but I put in the caveat that I'm the chief here and, my concerns, and I added in the comments, and I did talk to them. So I'm aware of it. They're aware of it. It's in English and Spanish. I'd like to get it out to the Resiliency group, and in turn, you get it out to the people that you think are going to respond. That may, especially in the flood areas. I think that would be a good idea. But they did a study last year because I asked the question, I go, this is great, the comparison of COVID and hurricanes and evacuations, but wow, that would have been great to compare it in 2020. Well, lo and behold, the main person in that area, and I'll get to who that is in a minute, she said, yeah, we did do a study last year. So I just was emailed that study. I'm going to send that to you all as well. I think it makes for interesting reading on evacuations during massive hurricanes and how that would play out during times of a pandemic or having to go places, and what people's perceptions were in 2020 when it came to having to go to shelters when other people have with the COVID going on. And up until a couple of months ago, I might have thought, well, it's going to be much better this year for sure. But now I'm not so sure if that fourth wave takes effect. So this is pretty timely. Now, what I'm getting with this, I got to the professor that's head of the school over there of geosciences. And I have a friend, and I brought up a friend, and she knew of him, didn't know him. So then I mentioned Hugh. I said, but this friend in archaeology, I deal with a gentleman that was a dean of archaeology, so to speak. He's the bomb. He helped us out on the resiliency. I mentioned Hugh. And Miss Jennifer Collins says she's worked with you from University of State of Florida. So that was a small world. And she gave me a list of all her studies and papers she's written. And she had nothing but compliments for you, Mr. Gladwin. So I thought that was a nice story. But as soon as I get off, the telecast here, I'll send out all the information to you all. You take a look at it, and I think it would be worthwhile to send it to, especially those in the flood zones, for their opinions, because they're putting together a paper as they did last year. So that was it. I just think it was a good story.
Appreciate that, Chief. And I'm going to turn up Chair Carmen, but I just want to say, Madam Carpenter, if I may, I'm going to send it all out right now, Chief. I got it all. It's all in the email. I'm just about to push send this.
And I'm going to just forward the study that I
got you covered.
2020. That'll be interesting. I'll send that to you, Mr. Mayor.
That's great. Thank you, Chief. Yeah, maybe we can, so the study is a survey basically that they want people who have had flood and hurricane issues in the past to fill out.
Yeah, it's basically they're conducting a survey. I'm going to read verbatim this year to compare against data gained earlier in the pandemic that also addresses questions of vaccination. They are interested in reaching any population that lives in a hurricane-prone area. Any results from this survey will be disseminated to all interested stakeholders and parties before the official start of the 2021 hurricane season. So I was able to get last year's report. It talks about COVID. It also has an area, have you been vaccinated? Would you be vaccinated? Would you feel more comfortable knowing you're vaccinated to have to go to the shelter? Questions like that. It's a pretty in-depth survey, but it doesn't take all that long. It's just they're asking the right questions. I think they're concerned with COVID and how it's going to work with the shelters and things. And my feeling is, because this took a while to prepare, was that I suspect they thought it was going to be a far different cry than last year, because people were saying they would rather stay in their houses than have to go to a shelter by and large because of COVID. And I think just speculation, I think they thought it was going to be easier this year because it's going away. And now they may have another part to that if that fourth wave does hit, because it's going to hit just in time for a hurricane season.
Okay, that's great, Chief. Thank you for sharing that with us, and I look forward to reading that. And maybe on the next task force meeting, when we've all had a chance to review, we can talk about some distribution, with our neighbors and folks in the community.
Very good.
Okay. Thank you, as always, Chief. I really appreciate the update. And I would not have guessed, I've seen some talk of a fourth wave in the news and things like that too, but with the vaccinations, I think it's even more important to bring that concern to light, because you tend to think everyone's getting vaccinated, it's going away. So I thank you for staying on top of that and bringing it to mind and all of our attention.
You're welcome, man.
All right. So we'll move on to the new H2, which is Miami-Dade County Adaptation Action Area Planning and Community Meetings.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that. Madam Chair, if you remember last Thursday, which was March 25th, we had the community forum from 5:30 to 7 o'clock for the Little River Adaptation Action Area. That went really well. And then we also had the very next day, on Friday, we had the final lunchtime webinar, which was the Evaluating and Elevating Homes, the adaptation for the Little River area. And that was really interesting, just showing, like, when they showed all of the all of the images of how they actually go through the process of raising a home. I had never seen all those type of images before, so that was really interesting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get, even though we've been sending them out little by little, and Madam Chair, you sent them to me also, and I appreciate that. Little by little, we've been sending out over all of these months as they have those webinars, and then afterwards they'll send usually a link to the PowerPoint presentation or the slide presentation of the webinars, and we've been sending them out, as they come in. What I'm going to try to do, as you guys saw recently, I even tried to start putting email pages or website pages that I feel like you guys might be interested in. I've been starting to put those in certain emails also. I don't know if you guys saw that. So what I'm going to try to do is gather up all of the links to all of the webinars that they've had for all of those slides and put them in one email, so that if you guys want to reference it real quickly, you guys can back and find it real quickly or whatever. So I'm gonna try to do that. But that's about it. That's the last one they had, Madam Chair. They did mention that now, I think, and Mr. Gladwin mentioned this last time when we were on the sustainability here at the task force meeting, that now they're about to go into phase 2. So we'll see what that is. This was the informational phase and the educational phase, and now they're going to go into phase 2 to try to see. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but they'll let us know.
Great, thank you, Mary Nickerson.
Thank you.
I also have really appreciated those emails where you have the resources laid out. That's been really helpful. So thank you for putting that together. Okay, does anyone, I think you covered everything from my perspective. I was on both of those meetings as well and thought that they were really interesting, and got a better idea on the realities of actually raising homes, especially homes on foundations, which I felt like was a completely unknown topic to me. So those were great. Does anyone have any other questions or comments on this topic?
Not for me.
Mr. Glavin? Oh, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I just, I mean, I agree with the mayor. I thought, they're really good. The meeting, I'm sorry, the Thursday evening meeting on the planning, switch out, a visiting dog here. The meeting planning, I thought was good because it did give a kind of feeling for what's coming as we go into the next phase. I mean, part of it, I think, is going to be getting a better sense of implementing the raising houses and all of the things that affect us. And I think it also, particularly seeing Katie Hageman at the end, I kind of get a sense now of the transition into the part where things are going to be implemented in terms of some of the hydrology changes that are going to be needed. And when we get to the village letter, I can talk about that. But, I think one problem has been, we've been talking about the need to adjust for higher water levels through these means, but we haven't had a really clear idea of what these higher water levels mean, what we're preparing for. So I thought that was good. And when it comes out, I'm glad to see you're working on it, Mr. Mayor, because they've been very slow in getting everything up on the, on their website. And I'm just looking right now and noticed that for some reason, they don't have any of the presentations there anymore. So to work on that, but anyway, so I thought it was really useful in that respect. There was discussion of the Corps of Engineers Back Bay study, which has confused everybody because it's directed at storm surge. And the study plan would put some kind of storm surge right through the middle of Shorecrest, north or south. And there's been a lot of unclarity over how that would affect anybody and affect us too. So it didn't resolve that issue, but it's something we have to keep an eye on. So that was my impression. Thank you.
Me too. Yeah, I think the Back Bay study is a good point too. There's a lot of questions on that, and I have a lot of questions on that, but it didn't seem like the county was either correctly positioned to answer those questions or kind of just didn't want to address, an Army Corps project, through a county.
Yeah, one thing that's weird about it is they haven't done any modeling of storm surge with that project to see how it's actually going to affect things, and which is strange because for our part of the Little River upstream of the S-27, they did 2 years of intensive modeling, to figure out the impacts of sea level rise. And Katie said they're not actually going to do any modeling until they get the go-ahead to possibly start, which seemed a little bit odd.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I think we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. I think it will certainly affect El Portal, whatever they decide or decide not to do.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think that's it on that update. We can move on to, I guess, what is still H3, which is the response letter for the Little River Adaptation Action Area Plan. So I know, so last week, I sent out a slightly updated letter that we had talked about, and then Hugh made some updates to it. And then it got sent out to everybody yesterday. Sandra and Courtney, have you guys had a chance to review that? I know it only got to you.
Yeah, yes, I have.
Okay. And Sandra, have you?
My bad, I have not. I have not, but unfortunately, it's been really crazy. I'm not sure if I should mention this right now, but I'm moving. So it has been a little crazy going through the motions and the facts of, closing one thing and closing other property that I already purchased. So it's been a little crazy for me. And I'm doing everything by myself. So, and packing whole house or whole 11 years living here is tough. So my bad, I haven't had a chance.
No,
Yes.
okay. I can also, I figured I'd screen share it and we can kind of walk through it that way.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. Hugh, did you have your hand up on this or?
Well, I had it up. We can maybe, when we go through the walkthrough, but the changes I made were two paragraphs. So maybe when we walk through, then I'll explain
Perfect.
why the changes were made.
Okay.
I mean, I think last meeting we were pretty close to accepting a final version. So as far as I know, those are, other than a few minor edits, those are the two main changes.
I think, yeah, I think that's right. Let me. All right, can you guys see this?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, Courtney, I know you had given feedback previously and I had incorporated those red lines into the draft, but it's gone through some changes since then. Did you have specific red lines or you just read it and thought it looked good?
I had a couple red lines, up to you if you want to just read through it or how you want it. I'll defer to you on how you want to go through it. If you want me to give you mine, I can do that. If you want to go through paragraph by paragraph, we can do that. Up to you.
Okay, I think so that Sandra has an opportunity to read it as well. Maybe we go through, it's what, 4 pages. It's not incredibly long. We just kind of walk through it slowly, and that way at the end we've all read it again, and we can get it out the door. So I think this is what we did, Courtney, when on the bylaws, we, where we walk through and say, does anyone have any changes on this? And then we can, proceed that way.
Okay.
Okay.
Works for me. Just to be clear, you are taking the change. You are making the changes in your version. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yeah. As we speak, I'll make the changes on the computer. So, all right. Any changes in this kind of intro portion?
Not from me.
Not for me.
Okay. I did.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry, Hugh. Go ahead.
I made a change in the second paragraph. When it says through the task force, El Pertel's government. That section in the original one had the letter coming from the El Pertel. We discussed that before. The problem was it sounded like it was coming from the El Pertel Village Council.
Yep.
But we discussed we didn't want to have something that would have to go through a vote on the council. So I changed that to through the task force, El Pertel's government entity officially representing the village on resilience matters. The village of El Pertel is pleased to provide the following comments. So the main thing, are how you feel about that wording, Mayor Nickerson.
I also added, just in line with that, I added and sustainability matters to your changes.
Oh, good. Yeah, right.
And then in the beginning, we still had on behalf of the village and the village of El Portal, Sustainability and Resiliency Task Force, I took out on behalf.
Oh, okay.
So I think that was a good change you made.
I think I'm looking at a different document here. Let me just make sure.
What are your thoughts on that, Mayor Nickerson, having it? Is there any issue with us sending this from the village from the task force specifically?
Quick question. Sorry to interrupt before you get to the mayor. The version I have still has the village of El Portal on behalf of.
I changed that like an hour ago. Sorry about that.
Okay. But any other changes that we should?
And I added and sustainability right here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But just in this top section, you didn't change anything else?
A little bit further down, I made a change, and I'll
Okay.
point out that paragraph to you as well. I had read it previously, thought it looked good, and then I read it again. It was like, you know.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mayor Nickerson, what are your thoughts on this coming from the task force? And is there any issue with us just issuing a comment directly on behalf of the task force without it touching the village council?
No, in my opinion, I would say that it doesn't, because the task force is a, you know, it's kind of like a quasi judicial board, a quasi board of the village, but in a sense it acts on its own, and you guys can still issue this on behalf of the El Portal, you know, resiliency, sustainability resiliency task force, with me as the liaison, and without having to go through the village council, because you guys aren't going to be putting this out. You guys don't want, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys don't want this out from the village council, correct?
That was the consensus at the last meeting.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So what you would need to, you just need to have this approved by myself and the village manager and the
Okay.
village attorney.
Gotcha.
So if it passes today or whenever it passes, I'll take that and take it to them, or you guys can reach out. It's in the email, CC me to the village manager, and then we can go from there.
Okay, great. All right, good to know. So
If that's the case, then do we want to say something different? Because we're saying through the task force, blah, 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 the village of El Portal is pleased to provide the following comments. Are we okay with that? I mean, I am, but.
Yeah, so at our last meeting, we discussed, given the Miami sea level rise strategy that the county has put out, and the role that El Portal will play in that, there was some concern that we didn't want to have the village making demands. We wanted the village working in partnership with the county. So it would be better coming from the task force, because not that there's demands in this, but we just thought the consensus, I think that Hugh and Mayor Nickerson had brought up, were that it would be politically better to come from the task force.
Okay, done, sold.
Is that a correct summary, guys?
Yeah, more or less. Member Kirk, a lot of it stems from, if you remember, a few weeks ago, I had that joint press conference with Mayor Levine Cava. I don't know if you saw that email. Okay, so from there, from that point on, you know, she's kind of included, you know, me and El Portal kind of into her plans. That's in kind of like a conjunction with the adaptation action area. And so we didn't want to make it seem that we're asking for, like, you know, me as mayor, and then El Portal is asking for demands from something I'm already a part of.
I got it.
So it'd be kind of me asking for demand for myself, you know. So that's all we want to kind of
Fine by me.
separate.
I don't have an issue.
Okay, so we good on this first highlighted section?
Yes.
All right, so I did make a change. I'll show you. Well, I didn't make any changes here, so give everyone a second to take a look at this.
I had no changes in that paragraph.
Okay, Sandra?
No, neither.
Okay. Let me know if you need us to slow down too.
I had no changes in that paragraph either.
Okay.
No, neither.
Okay. And this, I made a few tweaks, so I don't know if everyone wants to reread this.
Yeah, I do, because I did start having some changes here.
Okay. So I separated this into 2 paragraphs as well.
Yeah, and you addressed my a few wording, and I actually had one where I just said, huh, I don't understand the sentence, and you addressed it. So that's good.
So you don't have any changes for this section now, Courtney?
Now, hold on, how that now affects.
Yeah, take it. I really didn't make any other changes after this section, so it's okay if we take some
that
time.
first one, you've addressed the phrasing that I had in the first one.
Okay.
And if I could jump in here,
Of course.
this paragraph and the next one were the only two that I did a major rewrite on from the version that you guys saw in your last meeting. And as I mentioned before, the main point here was to say that we face this serious problem. You know, I took out, there was a whole bunch of language before about this is the problem upstream and it's not our fault, which I kind of felt in the context now of the whole C7 planning, Little River AAA, you know, is going to be addressed. It's just not in this part. So instead I rephrased it to really focus on this issue of what they call the control level of the river, which means basically the level the river is allowed to go under flood circumstances. Like during Ada, they tried extremely hard to keep it to 3 feet at the point, 3.5 feet at our flood level point. But in all the previous work, they've said it's going to have to go higher. So in like routine flooding, it's gonna, you know, there was some discussion of going as high as 6 feet. And that language about the control level is in fact in our 2 applications to the LMS for pumps. So I'm kind of just really emphasizing here that we have to know what that level is going to be, you know, because that is going to be a level of water in the Little River that will face, you know, probably on an almost annual basis if we keep getting, you know, the kind of rainfall events that we had during Ada. So that was the reason for that change.
I have difficulty understanding this first sentence in the how that now, starting with that. This first sentence, I've read 4 times again and still don't understand what we're trying to get across in that.
Yeah, I think you're right on this. I mean, the how that now affects.
Just talk to me. Forget about the wording on the screen. What is it we're trying to say in this sentence?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. What it says, the preceding paragraph is kind of introduces by talking a worst case scenario of flooding.
Right.
So this part is that worst case scenario of flooding affects El Portal in terms of the raising, and you're right, it needs to be changed.
How about?
Because what I'm trying to say is tried to say was, we have this situation of really serious flooding. And for that, obviously, if water goes up to 8 or 9 feet, we have to evacuate lower areas. But how it affects us is, as the district puts in measures to mitigate this and keep it from happening, it's going to have to raise this control elevation.
Okay, so let me just read what you wrote there. El Portal has to now prepare for raising the C7 control elevations by the SFWMD as part of future measures committee. Okay, no, that was.
Makes sense?
Yeah, what you had, yep.
Yeah,
that I can understand now. Okay, yep.
Okay, yeah, no, that's good.
The other thing I don't love phrasing wise is raising the control level that flood water is allowed to go in relatively frequent flood situations. I understand.
Yeah, that was another bad sentence on my part. I tend to.
No, I understand it. I just want to, you know.
Yeah. I mean, And what I'm trying to say there is, that the control level, like even in an ADA event, such as we had, if the control level is higher, they might not have stopped, at 3.5 feet. And in fact, we know they really struggled to even stop at 3.5 feet. And it would have been higher if, there'd been another huge batch of rain that came down. So I'm trying to say is,
Okay. That
know,
works.
relatively frequent means that it could happen in a much more frequent way.
I was going to say, maybe we want to either underline or italicize frequent. I mean, if that's what we really want to get across. And I'm just asking, I'm not demanding.
Yeah.
So when you say during the ADA, they held water in the river until it hit 3.5 feet and then they released it?
No, the problem is, water doesn't go out in the S27 unless it's higher in the river than the bay.
Right.
But when the water in the bay at high tide can go up to 3 feet, particularly like that's what happened. And since we start flooding at 3 feet or 3.5 feet, there's just no margin for them. Whereas if the control level is allowed to go higher, then there's a gravity drop at the S27. If it was allowed to go up to 4 feet, then in high tide, you'd have a 1 foot higher level in the river and it would start going out much faster.
Okay, so the control level is where they're holding water in the river at. So
yeah, that's where they allowed, it's kind of like a target level for them
to open the gates.
No, the gates always open. In a flood time, anytime the river is higher than the bay, the gates open to let water out. But the control level is sort of, okay, we manage the process to try to keep it from going above this level. We try to control the river to keep it, and the consequence of it, almost no water drains out, when you get a situation like Ada. So, with a higher control level, they do the same thing, but there are many more periods of time when the water in the river is higher and can go out.
So in this sentence, should we say, instead of during, causing? There we learned that necessary measures to increase flood drainage through the S27 structure could entail raising the control level for flood water release, causing frequent flood situations.
It might be better to say during
we just take it out.
Routine heavy flood situation, something like that. I mean, what I'm trying to get at is we're not talking about some catastrophic storm. We're talking about a major flood event of the type that could happen more frequently, which would cause, if the control level was 4 feet, we get 4 feet of flooding. Now, no one evacuates for that. It's still it's problematic, but it's what some people would call, what do they call it? I can't even remember.
Nuisance flooding?
Irritating flooding. There is some word like that diminishes it. It certainly didn't diminish it for us, particularly with septic tanks, but I think
more frequent flood situations,
or
as flood situations become more frequent.
Yeah, couldn't tell reason.
I mean, annual or semi-annual. I mean, it's like with, particularly with climate change and so much heat allowing massive amounts of moisture in the air, it's going to be like annual or semi-annual, something like that. heavy flood events.
Couldn't
Maybe,
elevation control level for flood water release as flood situations. Okay. Become more frequent. Yep.
That works.
wait a minute,
Here, let me highlight it.
what you have as,
Flood events.
yeah, change that to events, yeah. I would change it to heavy flood events. Yeah, that would be good, I think.
Okay.
I mean, this is language that's kind of hard for us technical people to understand. And I struggled with it too, but I think, when it gets to the county, when it gets to, Katie and Merle and all those people, they'll know exactly what we're talking about here. And the words control level, I put in because it's the precise language they use, the engineers and everybody use.
As control here. Just for clarity. That.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. What do you guys think as a whole?
Okay. I'm good with that paragraph now.
Okay. All right, and Hugh, did you read this one above? Because I made a few changes. I just want to make sure it's accurate.
Yeah, let me just look again, but I think it is. Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, it was influenced by the last community meeting Thursday night, because there's sort of like a inland shore, saltwater flooding, Little River area flooding. So I kind of like went into a little detail on that simply to say that we face an equal or greater flooding, here, as like shore crest faces from storm surge, sea level rise.
That makes sense.
I mean, the thing that we have to sort of remind ourselves here, that because the water is so deep off the ocean of like Miami Beach and everything, that our maximum storm surge possibility in an almost infinitely impossible perfect case scenario in Biscayne Bay is 8.5 feet. So, this kind of puts it in the framework of that. I mean, you compare that to Tampa, the maximum storm surge possibility in Tampa is 15 to 20 feet, in Pinellas County as well, or the Gulf Coast. I mean, we are very lucky here, but I'm kind of like put a little dwelling on that language simply because we have a really, as we've discussed over the whole course of the last year, and with Hugh Chief Magnuson particularly, we have this huge potential problem here. So the task force, I mean, the Little River AAA is not working on dealing with flood directly or evacuation, and we've dealt with that, but this is what, this is the kind of thing this whole planning process is aiming at, that's going to get much worse with climate change and sea level rise. So, but I think it looks good, and I think you clean it up a little bit. So I have no problem with it.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. All right, and then this last one, I think that you had one more sentence in here, Hugh, and I just took it out. Again, I went to put it in earlier, and I think it was kind of already said earlier. But I'm happy to put it back in if you think it's necessary.
No, I think it's good. I can't even remember what it was, but no, this is fine.
Okay.
Oh, it had to do maybe with the rainfall in the village versus outside.
I think so.
So, but the thing is, we say that, the letter says that later in a clear way anyway, so.
Okay.
I have no changes to that paragraph that you have highlighted.
Okay. Oh, and Vice Chair Fruitstone has joined us. I'm just now seeing.
Hi,
Welcome.
thank you. Super busy. Okay, I'm commuting, so sorry. I'm leaving the doctor's office now.
Gotcha. No worries. Sandra, we still have you as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Any changes to this paragraph? Or is this good?
I'm good with
No,
it.
it's good.
Awesome. Okay. And then I didn't make any changes here from the document you all have that Mayor Nickerson sent out.
Okay, I've got a numbering issue. We've got A and A water quality and A septic sewer.
Thank you.
And then, of course, that would mean C, I think, the next one.
Yeah. Apparently it doesn't. Oh, there we go. Okay. This is why you should be doing the formatting.
Yeah. Just for consistency, do we want the Q and water quality capitalized because we have sewer capitalized?
Thank you.
I've got nothing on water quality, but I do have a question on septic to sewer.
Okay. Anyone else on water quality? No. Okay. Courtney, septic to sewer.
The second sentence, not only will transitioning from septic to sewer decrease the amount of water entering neighborhoods during flood events. I don't understand how that is correct. How is transitioning from septic to sewer changing the amount of water entering the neighborhood during flood events?
Well, my understanding was, when you're showering or doing your laundry using the sink, it's all going into your septic tank and then it's being pumped directly into your flooded yard. So you're just adding more water to your yard when you have a flooding event. Everything you're using in the house is just ending up in the yard.
That makes
Whereas
sense.
if we're on sewer, when you flush the toilet, shower, laundry, it's going through a sealed pipe that is not leaking into the neighborhood and out to a water treatment plant.
Yeah.
So it's taking water out of the neighborhood instead of dumping it into the neighborhood.
I don't know how factually accurate that is, and certainly I wouldn't lead with it, because I think our real important piece from septic to sewer is not that at all, because even if we all showered at the same time, that would be a few thousand gallons, which is nothing compared to the rainfall, etc. I think we'd be better off focusing on the water quality and the septic failures that would cause the water quality to go down.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, and this, I agree with Courtney completely. I mean, it might be, if we keep the decreasing the amount of water thing, it would be a follow-up, like, it's
Yeah.
also possible, but I think the other one is so much more critical that
I would say transitioning from septic to sewer will importantly reduce the risks from septic failures to our residents and have a crucial positive impact on water quality in the river and the bay.
Okay, that just seemed a little bit repetitive of the first sentence now.
Water quality and resident safety.
Well, do we,
So I,
there almost could be a sentence there that,
I think I would, I'm
I mean,
happy
the real,
that, go ahead, Hugh, sorry.
well, the critical thing is the,
I don't think it's appropriate.
the key thing is that, you know, when we have flooding, it's not even a question of septic failure. I mean, it's that any drain field that's, you know, where the water table or whatever goes up to the point into the drain field, that's, you know, that's doing it. I mean, I guess the word is septic failure, but,
I agree, Madam Chair, with your concern. The sentences in here all seem to say the same thing. You know, hey, we got to get rid of septic and onto sewer to save the water quality. I don't know how to say
yeah,
it most strongly.
I think it really should say something like, septic systems, you know, the septic systems are compromised in any flood event and lead to the, you know, release of contaminated water into the river, something like that, because,
So, Madam Chair, how about if we get rid of the first sentence and just start with transitioning from septic to sewer will importantly reduce the risks from septic failures to our residents and have a crucial positive impact on water quality in the river and the bay. We believe that transitioning, and that's got to change from transiting.
Yeah, Courtney, can you see what I just changed it to?
Sorry, highlight for me. Any way you can do a view page width? If you go to the view tab, yeah, there we go. Okay, we believe that
transitioning.
Transitioning.
All right. Yeah.
Septic failures to our residents. And will have a crucial positive impact, or and has, but I assume will have.
I would say, reduces the risks for failures to our residents, septic failures, take out resident septic failures that in a flood or health hazards to our residents and release polluted water or into the river and bay, something like that.
All right, transitioning from septic to sewer reduces the risk from septic failures, which cause whatever we're saying.
Health hazards for our residents.
Yeah, which cause, yeah. Yeah.
And release, you know, release or impact, or yeah, I guess, yeah, impact or have a negative impact on water quality.
Transitioning.
Okay, so we changed the, instead of what it will do, we said what it does, what it'll take away, not what it'll add.
My mind is still full of the language that you put in, Sandra, when you were telling us what happened in your area on this.
So I agree. I was trying not to, from just a like protecting the village standpoint. I didn't want to lay into that too hard.
How did septic failures negatively impact our residents? Just trying to think of.
Yeah, I was trying to point out that it was a health issue without having the village make a statement that it's a health issue. If that makes sense.
whichever, Nick,
I think
about
it's
if we
okay.
say risk from septic failures, which have a negative impact on water quality and cause, you know,
There you
I don't know.
go.
I don't
Okay.
like negatively impact our residents because it seems too loosey-goosey. Where the others were a little bit more.
So I think it's two different things. I think that transitioning from septic to sewer has a positive impact on water quality because you don't need a septic tank failure for it to negatively impact water quality. So
Okay.
let's break it into maybe two.
And we should probably not use the word transitioning because we used it in the previous sentence. So,
Okay.
moving from, or whatever you want to say.
Okay.
Can I ask a question regarding the sewer system and in regards to the storm water system? If that happens to us, when we get to the point of bringing all the septic system of our village to sewer system, would that increase also the quality of whatever we have already in place in terms of the storm water system, or not at all? Or those are two completely different systems?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, of course. I'm sorry. I was distracted.
No problem. I mean, they overlap a little bit, but stormwater and wastewater are two completely separate projects, Member Valencia.
But
Okay.
do they use the same tubes, don't they use the same drain pipes to get rid of water?
Wait,
Use the same
stormwater?
drain pipe to get rid of.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Member Valencia raised a question whether how the new septic to sewer, if we went with sewer, and stormwater removal, how they were tied together or impacted each other. I believe that was,
Okay.
I phrased it poorly, but that's what I think she was asking.
Yeah.
And while they are two separate projects from a management and financial aspect, from a system aspect, the outgoing water of both sewer and stormwater goes to the same place. Is that correct, Mr. Mayor?
That's why they overlap. That's why they overlap, but they're two separate projects. So I wasn't really clear maybe on what her question was. So maybe.
I mean, the thing is, though, water from sewer goes in the sewer pipe to the system, whereas stormwater is like water in the streets, goes down a storm drain and either into the aquifer or the river.
Yeah.
The only interaction with the systems now is that with septic, water from septic drain fields, if they're flooded, go out into the street and they go through that. But, but once we get full sewer, then sewer water won't go into the storm drain system at all.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I think I misstated something then. I want to make sure I'm clear on it. So even today, the storm water does not go into any sewer drains. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And in the future, when we hook up to sewer, it still will not go into sewer drains.
Yeah, we don't have any sewer drains now that are
right, but I'm just in the future it will not go into sewer drains.
Right. So they're two completely different systems. So right now, if you have sewer and not a septic tank, it's a closed system where all of the wastewater from your house goes through a closed system of pipes to a wastewater treatment plant, and it's addressed there, and it goes in various different places. Separately, stormwater is drains in the ground that drains directly into the bay and is largely untreated. So the problem is that with septic tanks, instead of treating this human waste and other nutrients, it's mixing with the groundwater and running directly into the bay untreated. So that's why it's important to transition it to a closed system, i.e. sewer, where it would, in a closed pipe, go to a wastewater treatment system and be treated there before being released back into the system.
So that's where the quality of water comes into discussion. And that's why I wanted to clarify. Okay, that's a big deal. Okay.
That's
Thank you.
exactly
Thank
it.
you
Is
for
that, is
clarifying.
that the wastewater in our septic tanks, the entire way the septic tank functions is to drain it into the ground, have the ground percolate slowly through the ground, and the nutrients be absorbed into the system before it hits the aquifer. But what's happening is because the water table has come up so high, when our septic tank drains into the ground, it just is going right into our water. And when it floods and there's water above ground, it's just pumping that gross wastewater directly into your yard. And then all that flood water is draining right into the river and into the bay.
In the bay. Yeah, got it. Understood. Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you. Okay.
I mean, if I could say one thing more, I mean, the thing is, I mean, this sort of sounds repetitive in terms of, in relation to the Little River AAA session on septic to sewer, because, you know, these issues were discussed so much there. I mean, it seems like I almost would say we're grateful that this issue was so extensively discussed in the Little River AAA webinars, and it was clearly documented there, the impact that, you know, septic systems, particularly at low elevation, have on water quality and public health, something like that. You know, I don't think we need to say much more than something like that, you know, and certainly saying that El Pertel's in favor of improving water quality and protecting our residents seems kind of extraneous. I mean, what municipality doesn't want to do that? So I don't know.
So I felt like it needed to be in here because this
Oh,
is.
it does need to be in here, but I think it can be very short and sweet, you know, just
Right. That was, I totally agree. That was my thought. They already know. We already, I mean, we've had
Yeah.
3 meetings that and the residents are very upset about. They know.
I mean, I think almost just saying, you know, we were very appreciative of the focus on this issue and how central it is. And, you know, this is a major issue for us, so we'll be.
So I got an email from Adam Old who thought that we should stress the septic to sewer issue a little bit more. And so I think that's why I had added a few more sentences to it.
We should scrap it or.
No, he thought that we should beef it up.
Oh, beef it up. Okay, yeah, well, it is the most critical thing for sure.
Yeah, so I almost felt it, well, I totally agree with you that it really can be said in one sentence because they already know. I think there's some amount of weight that's lent this goes against everything I believe in writing, that you should just add sentences to add sentences. I don't believe that that's a good way to do it, but in this case, having a slightly broader paragraph does kind of add to the importance.
I just feel like we should add sentences like Adam said. It's just, since this is a letter about us and Little River AAA, we could put it in context that the webinar and the work so strongly addressed the dangers to water quality and public health posed by compromised septic systems or something, you know, that this is extremely important to us. You know, in other words, keep the language that makes it stronger, like Adam would say, but put it in, you know, the context of our relation to the Little River AAA, and you know, and then we don't need like general language like we really worry about water quality, like everybody worries about water quality, you know.
Yeah, I think it's important though to just because making
well,
like a bullet point of everything we care about, I wouldn't want to leave out something that we care about just because it's obvious we care about it, you know.
No, it's not that it's obvious, it's just repetitive sort of. I don't know, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, after where your current cursor is, my suggestion would be the following statements. Moving from septic to sewer will have a positive impact on water quality and public health in both the river and Biscayne Bay, as failed or filled septic systems contaminate the water system. Moreover, this transition will reduce the similar risk of overwhelmed septic systems during flood events. El Portal is strongly in favor of transitioning our village from septic to sewer and welcomes any opportunities to collaborate on such work.
Okay, can you read the first sentence you said again? I liked all the
Sure.
other sentences.
No worries, and you can edit it and dissect it, and that's okay. Moving from septic to sewer will have a positive impact on water quality and public health in both the river and Biscayne Bay, as failed or filled septic systems contaminate the water system. Moreover, this transition will reduce the similar risk of overwhelmed septic systems during flood events. El Portal is strongly in favor of transitioning our village from septic to sewer and welcomes any opportunities to collaborate on such work.
I thought that sounded good. So moving from septic to sewer will have a positive impact on, and that's where it changed a little bit.
Positive impact on water quality and public health in both.
I like that addition. The public health is important.
In
It's not
both
just
the
village
river as well as river and Biscayne Bay, comma, as failed or filled septic systems contaminate the water system.
Water system. So my only issue with that is that just the existence of a perfectly functioning septic tank in and of itself is already contaminating the water. Like they're not designed. They're designed to put nutrients into our water system, and that's causing problems already, even when they function perfectly. So I think that
No, that's low elevation.
Right. I was going to say,
I mean,
if you have
higher
it at normal
elevations.
elevation, it doesn't.
right, but I mean, so right now when it hasn't rained in 3 weeks, like, or however long it hasn't rained, it's like we're still the impact of El Portal and largely in that has significant areas of low elevation is still causing a water quality issue to the best of my understanding. So it doesn't have to be failing to require, doesn't have to be failing for us to need to transition.
Yeah, it's all septic systems that, interact with the water table or are close to the water table. So I mean, I think
Even if they're not failing.
so.
Instead of saying failed or filled septic systems, do you want to say low elevated septic systems?
Low elevation septic systems.
Or low elevation, whatever.
Okay.
Systems, plural, septic systems. Yep. Contaminate the water.
And then, I guess we can keep that in too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I kind of,
so public health, this is the wrong modifier. So I'm just going to switch these. Impact on public health.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Moreover, this transition will reduce the similar risk of overwhelmed septic systems during flood events.
During what?
Flood events.
Okay.
El Portal is strongly in favor. Go to the next.
Gotcha.
El Portal is strongly in favor of transitioning our village from septic to sewer. Yep. and welcomes, yeah.
Okay, so for me, that now the strongly in favor doesn't sound so extraneous because it's given context by the discussion before. The only thing I'd now change is I would change welcomes any opportunities, or, you know, rather it should be looks forward to the continuing collaboration with Little River AAA on, you know, the proposals for whatever you want to call it. In other words, it's not just
Yeah,
collaboration. It's like that's the central part of the whole thing.
And I will add the word continuing because we already are. So it seems like forward to collaborating is like in the future. I think we are already.
Okay, yeah.
look forward to our continued collaboration on such work.
There you go. Yeah.
With the Little River AAA on such work.
But, okay, yeah, all right.
Good. Adam will like that.
Great. All right. We like it? We're good?
Yep.
Okay, great. Equity.
The only thing I had was this 87th Street way through the village. We actually don't have sidewalks between north, like there's an area that does not have sidewalks on 87th.
Yeah. West of Northeast Second.
Yeah. And I didn't know whether we wanted to say anything or.
Yeah, I was kind of deferring on this one. I'm not sure either.
You know, that whole one, I've gone back and forth about that. I mean, it was, my tendency would be to cut out that whole section because,
This little part.
I mean, it's sort of like really good that the Little River AAA had a whole section on equity and former redlining and everything else. I think I might have originally drafted that paragraph somewhere way in the back, and I was just kind of saying, well, hey guys, we've been working on this like forever. But the east-west connectivity thing, it's always been a huge deal. I mean, the railroad tracks sort of, there's a north-south boundary that is the segregation boundary, in all of Northeast Dade County. And a lot of the sort of major planning, like the FEC corridor study, that was a big idea to improve east-west connectivity. And when we had our first charrette, that was a big deal because in those days there was a much more kind of severe East El Portal, West El Portal division, and during that first charrette, there was thinking, that we really need to make 87th Street work as like an attractive corridor for the two sides of the village, to be safer for school children, but also to emphasize that we're one village across this. But in this document, it just seems way too abstract now.
What if I just delete what's highlighted?
Yeah, delete that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's
doesn't have
good.
much specifics, but it has some good feel good.
Yeah.
Hey, we all recognize, let's be good, fine.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Good.
All right. Thoughts? Go. We'll just do the whole. How does the whole thing look? I don't know if anyone has any changes.
I don't have anything. Basically, I only have one comment between here and the end. Well, two comments.
Okay. Maribel or Sandra or Hugh or Mayor Nickerson?
The only thing is the very last sentence, looking for funding for this as part of the C7 Basin project, maybe. Actually, it's like it's missing pronoun and proposition in there anyway, but
Okay.
for funding.
I have a question regarding this point A. At the beginning, the first paragraph, we state that the village believes that the building like the Keys is more viable option than the El Portal, than the building on field, right? But then on the third paragraph, you say the village believes that both of the options discussed, building the field and building the Keys, are potentially viable options. I don't know. I think that this is contradicting what we said on the first paragraph, because we truly believe that, you know, building on field is not an option for our village.
So my thought was that it says we think that the building like the Keys is more viable than building on fill. Not that building on fill is a bad option, but just that we think that building like the Keys is a better option. And at the end, we're like, we think that they're both potentially viable, but we need funding either way.
I would almost suggest that Sandra raises, Member Valencia raises a very good point. I think maybe we want to say something like, while the village believes that both the options are potentially viable, we believe that building like the Keys is a preferable option, and then go through the rest of the sentence.
I mean, part of it is given the topography and street layouts, there's, you know,
I get it, but if
there's some areas, yeah.
If we're saying both are viable, I think saying at the end both are viable, we're better off saying in the beginning both are viable. We prefer this one because, and I think that's,
well, it's more applicable to more areas of El Portal, I think, given the
completely
topography.
agree that it's better for us. I just think the how we say it.
Or just, it's more viable in most locations of El Portal or something.
What if we leave the beginning and change it down here instead?
Okay.
I actually thought what you had there worked well.
Most options may,
We're just using viable too many
it's
times.
okay. How about we say both options may be viable? Then forget the village believes that. Well, building, yeah.
it's not that, again, it's more viable. It has more,
Right.
it's a more,
While the village believes
useful.
that both options may be viable, building like the Keys is a preferable option in El Portal due to the fact that the village is almost entirely developed, whatever. I mean, something like that.
well, then you leave out the issue that half of the former trailer park policy is extremely low elevation. I mean, the village is going to be forced to require major building on fill in that area from developers there. So to me, it's not that one is preferable. It's one that there are more locations where building on fill is going to work. It's not a matter of better or worse. I mean,
Obtainable. I think viable is the right word. We just can't use it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're both viable. They'll both work. It's just that, I mean, I take
mean,
out
Madam Chair,
building on fill would be a very difficult solution to implement because that's not why it's not viable. It's not viable in most places of the village because, you know, there is no undeveloped land to like
Right.
build up, and all kinds of other things. Just means that elevating houses is going to be preferable in most areas, but they're both viable.
Maybe it's a better fit for
Uh,
village.
I think, does this address it? I feel like this fixes it.
Maybe possible building like the keys is a more viable option of the, yes.
And I still think it should say viable option in most areas of El Portal. I really don't want us. I can just see some of the developers of the trailer park grabbing this letter and say, "Hey, you guys said you would never make us raise elevations through fill."
I think that's a good fix in most areas of El Portal. Does that work?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Mayor Nickerson, were you trying to interject?
No, I was just gonna say really quickly, Madam Chair, I was just trying to find a point that everybody could agree with, and the only point I was just gonna try to bring up, but it seems like you guys solved and got to where you wanted to be. I was just gonna say, if you guys want to, in this, you guys can, even though I feel like keys is much more viable than build on fill, but you can, present them here if you guys wanted to, kind of like as equal. And then later on, as we get to the point to where, you start to get more detail with exactly what you want, then you can guys get more detailed then. But if you guys have worked it out, then that's fine. I was just trying to find a way for you guys to, continue to move forward and still find a compromise between what everybody wanted. And because, you never know that if, even though, this may not happen, but you never know, let's say if there's some kind of grant that comes through for a building on field, then that might be good for the trailer park. You don't want them to not look at you for building on field, just because you guys feel like, you don't want them to think that you guys want to build on keys more, even though building like the keys is more a viable option. But like I said, I was just trying to give a suggestion to pass you guys through this point, but if you guys have found that compromise, then it's okay.
Here's what I think you should do in the first sentence. While the village believes that both options are viable, building like the keys is a more applicable option. So the word applicable is much better to me because it says there are more areas where it applies and would work.
But do we actually, is it just that it's not applicable, or do we actually prefer building like the keys, even if we had both options?
No, we don't prefer it.
Okay.
I mean, in a place where, in a place that's not developed and people are going to put in housing,
Yeah.
and you can restructure the roads, building on fill is incredibly more attractive because it's much cheaper. And
right, but in a place like El Portal where the building, like if I tore down my house and built it on fill,
right, exactly, it's not applicable there. It wouldn't make any sense there.
It would make sense for me. It would just hurt everyone else around me.
Right, but that's why it's not applicable. See, to me,
I think that is applicable. I think it's just not.
How about we say more appropriate?
Okay.
I don't know, applicable.
What did you want?
The task force represents the village, so something may be applicable to a homeowner, but it's definitely not applicable to the village that has to consider the effect on the whole, like local part of the village.
So what was your suggestion for language here?
Well, I would put applicable there, but Courtney, whatever you said probably would work too.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Courtney, Member Kirk said more appropriate is what Member Kirk said. He said more appropriate is what he said.
Yeah, that probably is better. Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. How about this?
Yeah, oh, that's good.
Okay. Good. Everyone's happy with
Yeah,
that?
no, the,
Wait, hold on. I'm just looking at the village more strongly support efforts like the.
see, again, that makes the choice. I mean, the village strongly supports the, initiatives of the Little River AAA in terms of building like the Keys or something. But not, it's not a matter of who would more strongly support. I mean, again,
So say that again here. Say the first part of what you just said again.
the village,
Do we need the second paragraph?
actually, we don't at all.
Potentially.
I think
Go ahead.
no, I just think that the reason why it's there is because you've already titled this section, build on fill, build like the Keys. And so looking at it, you have a paragraph corresponding to each one of those things. So you would have to get rid of that and then actually talk about the second portion of it in that first paragraph in order for it to make sense when you're reading it. Otherwise, don't title it that.
Yeah, I think that was the thought too. So you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
You guys just don't like more strongly support.
I just would take out more. That's all.
Okay.
Say strongly support is fine. The more makes it sound
Okay.
like we're voting. And this, I mean, member Fruitstone is exactly right. I mean, we have to say about it, but we don't have to say we prefer it better. You know, it's just, so
Yeah.
take out the more, that works fine.
Okay.
The second sentence there and the second half of the first sentence in the third paragraph talk about funding sources or assisting residents. I think we probably want to combine those two so we don't say the same thing in two consecutive sentences.
The second sentence in here, this.
Yep.
And then
Assist residents with elevating their home, blah, blah, blah. And then the next sentence, there'd have to be a major funding source to assist residents.
It talks about essential equipment and sea level rise adaptations as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's duplicative because they're, I mean, the reality is that elevating homes and building like the Keys does put a big burden on individual people.
Yeah, and this one, the one I've highlighted is only referencing building like the Keys.
Right.
And it's also talking about like actual assistance, like even more than financial, you know, having programs or contractors in line. And then down here, it's talking about both Phil and the Keys, and it's just talking about the financial burden.
Yeah.
If you're talking about that level of assistance in the first sentence there, the supporter program that assisted residents, I did not interpret that in reading it.
Okay, I think I intentionally tried to make it vague because I can't envision. I'm not an expert on county assistance programs, so I wanted them to tell us what they can do to help us.
Yeah.
May I ask a question in regards to this document? And I know I'm late to the party, so I'm sorry. In the final paragraph, it says, we were pleased to read in the New York Times that there is a great increase in the funding. I feel as you're not going to reference it somewhere. Like, is it included in this document? Like, who is reading this? Have they read that? Because I feel like you're referencing something like, I'm reading that and I didn't read that. So I don't necessarily know what's inside that article in the New York Times.
What if we say?
If I
we're-
could jump in, you're
You understand what I'm
absolutely
trying to
right.
say?
Yeah. What if we say we're pleased to hear that there will be a great increase in funding from this program? To learn, we're pleased to learn. So we take out the reference to the New York Times. Like, I'm sure that I would presume that the county is familiar with the BRIC program. So we can say we were pleased to learn that there is to be a great increase in funding for the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities program.
Right, but it's not defined. Is this going, like, is that particular, is that BRIC program defined to help in this area of the build and fill and build like the keys?
Yeah, I don't,
Because to me, it seems unnecessary if it has nothing to do with that.
yeah, the thing is, I mean, I wrote that part too in the initial draft. And that was like, what, 2 months ago or something? And that had just come out. Since then, you know, we've heard numerous times in all these meetings that in fact, the county is going to the BRIC program for the $30 million. That's going to be the initial funding for the Little River AAA. So that's, I mean, it's relevant because, you know, that funding is going to have to come up. I mean, or, you know, I mean, I mean, I don't know, you know, the preceding big project, this for the C4 canal, the amount was 400 million and it all went to engineering. Nothing went to, you know, the kind of stuff that's going on in this program. So,
so should I just take the sentence out?
yeah, take it out for
And
Yeah.
I suggest, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the reason that supports to get rid of that sentence also is I feel as though this is an informational section and we are pleased makes it opinion. And so then you're contrasting your two writing styles. That's all I want to say.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to go back to the two first sentences of the first and third, but there's redundant. While the village believes that both options are viable, we are saying the same things in the first sentence of the third paragraph. The village believes that both of the options discussed, blah, 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 are potentially viable. I don't know, I think it's repetitive, in my opinion.
yeah, you're right.
I agree. Maybe instead of on the third paragraph, for either option or for both options, there would need to be or have to be a major funding source.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I also agree that before we move on to build on higher ground in transit, that we need some kind of wrap it up sentence to tie the two paragraph and the thoughts that we have brought up. So something needs to be put there to tie it up if we get rid of the redundancy of that.
I mean, to me, it's like, it's really the village too. The village believes that for either option, there'd have to be a major funding source to assess residents and the village with the financial burden. And then the village supports the effort the county is undertaking, you know, to include funding for this type of thing and something like that in the C7 basin thing. And for either option, there would have to be, I would just say, funding to assist residents and the village with the cost or something. I don't know. That's your level of things, Mayor Nickerson. But
you don't like major funding?
Um,
Like,
See, the thing is within the whole kind of brick thing, I mean, the county wants to leverage funding, not just for engineering, but leverage funding to enable local areas and residents to make these changes. Some of which, you know, like septic to sewer is a major funding burden for the village, but you know, these are for residents. It's just you know, to me, like at the end, it would go to the village supports efforts the county is undertaking to include efforts like these in the funding of the C7 Basin project, singular.
what if the village believes that for either option, there would have to be significant funding to assist residents and the village with financial burden, and the village supports the county's efforts to undertake such funding or define such funding, like just make it one sentence.
Yeah, it's not, but in this case, the efforts are to include funding for these type of projects. I mean, the funding is there in the 30 million. I mean, that's the,
I'm not sure. I don't know if I understand the concern.
well, I mean, again, at this meeting on Thursday, when you looked at the flow chart they have of things that are going to happen, it's like on the next stage, there's something called the capital something or other plan. I mean, that part of it is where they're going to leverage the brick money, the 30 million, into more funding to cover these kinds of things. But the key thing isn't that the county's looking for funding. They're already working on this plan and they've got funding. The key thing here is that the county in that funding is looking to address the financial burden of residents on these measures. You know, the county's not saying, oh, you guys gotta, you know, build like the Keys and build on fill and, you know, go out and find money for it. They're saying we're committed in this process to include these type of things. So, you know, it's not, the village supports the efforts the county make to including such initiatives within C7 Basin, within the C7 Basin project.
What can you see what I have now, Hugh, for such C7 Basin projects?
Okay, well then I'd cut out C7 Basin because that confuses it with all the ups, just, you know, for such projects.
Okay.
That's good. Okay, that's plenty. That does it.
Everyone good with this? Yeah?
Works for me.
Okay. I do want to just point out we only have 15 minutes left. So let me see.
Well, item H4, we're
Yeah,
not going to have because it required Kristen to be here. I'll just make a remark about that when it comes.
Okay. Build on high ground around transit.
Yeah, that'd be the new H5. You got it.
Any changes?
Good to me.
Good to you.
Mhm.
Okay.
I've got nothing on B or C.
Okay. Sandra? Okay, hearing none, I'm moving on. What about it's Sandra or Maribel, anything on C?
No.
Remember Valencia back? She got disconnected for a second.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mayor Nickerson. Nothing on C. Q, nothing on C?
Nope, looks good.
Okay. Start with AI, and that is golden.
So I don't, this is me being a dork, but I don't love having I and double I when you have A. I would prefer to have 1 and 2. I know that sounds stupid, but
I agree.
when I read A and I don't know whether, I don't know. Or it could be a lowercase I if you really wanted it to be, if you wanted to be I's.
Yeah, that's,
Okay. I have no idea how to change this.
oh yes. It's that word bullet thing you can't.
Madam Chair.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, if you if you guys don't know how to change it right now, you guys can just continue to go.
You got it. It's perfect.
Okay.
And then we just gotta, this other one shall go back to the other formatting.
That's good.
The increased rate of removal should be B, not 3, right?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, let's see what happens. Did it work? Yeah. That's why it was bolded. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. How's that?
I am much happier now. Thank you for my dorkiness.
Okay.
The only comment I have in section 1 is I believe it's LRAAA, not LRAA.
Thank you.
That's all I had for the rest of the document, in fact.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. Sorry to disappoint.
very disappointing. Okay. I don't want to scroll past everyone else's comments and thoughts, though. Hugh, you have any changes?
I would just cut out at the very end the thing that says as environmental considerations remain highly important. I just think that's redundant. Just cut that out and end the sentence.
Okay.
Impacts need to be,
Yeah, I felt like kind of strongly about including that because the more I thought about what a great idea a seepage wall is, the more concerned I got about just like destroying the river. So I just wanted to make.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's fine. It doesn't, no.
Okay, I just wanted to make it really clear that we are in favor of this, but if it comes back that this would just like destroy the bay, destroy the river,
Right, yeah.
You know, I just wanted to make it clear that we want.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's good.
All right. Anybody else on this?
Nope.
Oh. All right, B. We still lost Sandra. Oh no, Sandra's back. Sandra, sorry.
I lost Wi-Fi for a second, so I'm so sorry. I'm using my cell phone right now. I don't know what happened with the Wi-Fi in my house.
Gotcha, no worries. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. I'll scroll back up a little bit. Did you have any changes? I don't know when you cut out, so I'm not sure how far back to go.
I don't really. No, it's fine. Okay, so I'm going into the increase rate of removal. Yeah, that's fine.
Sandra, anything on this one? I didn't know if you were still reading or waiting on me.
Yep. Hi, this is Courtney. Sorry, Sandra. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
The first sentence has too many commas.
Okay.
Right. Well, we need to slow the speed and reduce the quantity of water entering once water is already into. I would take out that after neighborhood. I would take out that comma. Once water is already in the neighborhood, we need to rapidly get it out.
Yeah. Yep.
So, that one, yep. Sorry.
No. Okay, Sandra, you good on this one?
I am.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Let's look at that beautiful conclusion.
Oh, see, it needs to, Courtney, look at this. It's
What?
recommending a comma.
Bull, you know what? It doesn't.
Well, it's like an aside, right? So
Yeah.
the Little River, once water's already in, you know, but I'm okay. I don't care.
But if you take the comma out, like in theory, you take a section between commas out, it should still read.
But you'd have to take both commas out.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah, take both out then.
or put a period in capital O.
Let me just.
Oh, and P.
Well,
But
we need to slow the speed and reduce. Yeah, I would say put a period in capital O.
This is a while though. That wouldn't be a complete sentence.
Yeah, no, you're right. So
It's fine. We'll just leave the comma. I mean, it's
Yeah.
fine. I don't think they'll notice. Okay. Conclusion.
Good to me.
Okay.
I'm good.
Maybe we should change this to LRAA. Just for consistency. Yeah.
Okay. But then it's got to be LRAAA plan, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Would it be
good
A?
with that, but just for the purposes of format, I will get the conclusion title down.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Good call.
It just plan. We also support the county's intention of adopting a plan. Does that have to be capitalized?
Where is
The
that?
P in plan that focuses. It's the last sentence in the second paragraph. We also support the county's intention of adopting a plan is capitalized. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's more consistent.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it?
It's good.
Did we do it? Awesome. All right, let me save this.
Please.
Yes. All right, just to
Do,
be,
do we need, just from a tactical standpoint, do we need to vote and approve this, or are we good? And I don't know whether that's a question for the chair or for the mayor. I don't know what our process is.
I think we need a,
We probably need a motion to approve.
I didn't hear the question. I didn't hear the question.
you probably need
Sorry
a
about
to vote and a roll call this one, right, Mayor Nickerson?
We need it. We definitely. I have the roll call names lined up right now. I'm ready when you guys are.
Okay,
So
so
yeah,
we
when we
need
get
a
to that point, we'll definitely have to do roll call.
So
Definitely have to do a motion, a second, and roll call. Jeff.
Okay, so I would move that we submit on behalf of the task force this letter from the Village of El Portal providing comments on the Little River Adaptation Action Area to the Miami-Dade County Office of Resiliency.
I second.
Perfect. All right, hearing a motion in a second, Mayor Nickerson, can I get roll call?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. Member Sandra Valencia,
Yes.
Member Courtney Kirk,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Maribel Fruitstone,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Maribel Fruitstone,
Yes.
Chairperson Elizabeth Fata Carpenter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, passes unanimous 4-0.
All right, awesome. Thanks, guys. That was really helpful. I think I think all the addition and everything has made it a really strong letter. And a special thanks to Hugh for all your work on this.
Yeah, since you guys spent so much time, I think it came out really, really great. I want to applaud you guys for that. This is like, this is what do they call
A work of art.
all this in Washington, Courtney, was making the sausage? Going back to old political terms. Going back to old political terms, you guys really did that, and this is how everything happened. So I really appreciate that. While we were sitting here and you guys were going through this, I think I'm gonna decide to take this through the council, just so there is no, because I think you guys work so hard on it. I don't want there to be any problems later. So I might just take it to the council. I do have a special council meeting that I'm going to have coming up. Because if you guys remember the previous council meeting, I had a whole bunch of current agenda items. There were a whole bunch of ordinances and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys saw that. I usually include you guys on those council meeting agendas. But they weren't prepared the way they should have been. So I'm going to have a special council meeting just to get a whole bunch of stuff in order as far as like commercial businesses and things like that. And I think I can put this on that agenda. It doesn't have to go through council. It doesn't really have to, but I just feel like it's a perfect document. I just wanted to go through council just to have it on record.
Mr. Mayor, is there, and I guess to Madam Chair, is there a concern over timing? Is at some point does this become not quite as useful if we wait another week, 2 weeks, month, whatever it is?
That's the reason. Yeah. Well, I mean, Madam Chair, this is your task force. You can answer that.
No, I don't. When is the next special council meeting?
So I was looking to do a council meeting April 7th, maybe next week.
That's my birthday.
April 8th. No later than the which one? April 8th?
7.
Look at that. No later than the week of the 12th. I was going to get that done.
Okay. So I know I think I will fully defer to you on this, Mayor Nickerson. I know that we, held the task force meeting a little bit earlier so that we could get it out to them as soon as possible. But like that being said, I understand that this is an important document representing the village. And so I don't want to, I would defer to you on your comfort level, having this shared with the county on behalf of the village. So
I think it's perfect. Let me take a night to think about it, because it's perfect the way it is, and the way that it is right now. If I don't go through the council, as long as it's approved by the village manager, and the attorney, that's perfect. And actually, the way that we have it written down, and the way that we do procedure for something like this, I only have to really get village manager approval. A lot of things have to go through simply like village manager, village mayor approval. This is one of those things to where I would fall kind of under that. Maybe village attorney could be included in that, but doesn't have to be included in that. I would just say for my comfortability, I think it's perfect. And I just wanted to have it on record for the entire council so that, nothing can come back later, whereas it's like, well, I didn't agree to that, and I'm part of El Portal, and you know what I mean? That's the only reason why I said that.
Can we agree that regardless of what happens with the council, unless the council shuts it down, that by the end of next week, April 9th, it gets sent? So if the council defers on it, we send it anyway. If the council vetoes it, different story. But if the council defers it or approves it or whatever, by April 9th, the chair can send it, again, assuming we get, as you said, the village manager and the attorney to sign off.
Absolutely. I think that, and it's interesting you brought that up, Member Kirk, because I was going to say for something like this, that's not a council created document, a council agenda document. For something like this, I was going to say, one of the first things I was going to say is that you guys can just go and send it, and I can get it passed to the council retroactively if I really want to, But I think that what Member Kirk just said is perfect. That I'll put it through. If for some reason the special meeting can't be done by that date, you guys can go ahead and send it out anyway. I'll send it off to the village manager tomorrow and the attorney, and just have a conversation with them about it. The attorney doesn't even really have to sign off on it. Like, he could be part of the conversation and kind of tell us what he thinks. And as long as it's signed off on by myself and the village manager, then it makes it official. Just like everything else, just like you guys, whenever we sign checks and all that type of stuff, it doesn't go through the council. A whole bunch of stuff doesn't go through the council as long as it's me and the village manager. That's pretty much how it has to be done for a lot of things.
I just don't want all the work that everybody did on this, primarily Hugh and the chair, to go to waste because it's gone too long. That's my concern.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I want to get that out there right away. So I think that'd be good. As a matter of fact, I think that you guys can pretty much send it out by beginning of next week. Just let me have those meetings with the manager. Me and the manager talk all day, all the time. So we'll be done with this by tonight or tomorrow morning by like 10 o'clock a.m. Me and the manager. We're always on the phone talking about everything. But Attorney Geller's a little bit hard to get in touch with. I can get to him by Friday, which is the 2nd. So definitely by early next week, this should be done. Or I'll be sending a email out Friday afternoon saying that this is ready to go, you guys.
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually no great rush. I mean, because the current phase of the Little River AAA is now ended and they're transitioning to the next phase. So, you know, that makes this letter perfect because this letter is saying now, I mean, before it was like we were in a rush because the discussions were going on and we wanted to emphasize what was important. You know, now this phase is over and the letter is more like summing up what's really important to us and the whole thing going to the next phase. So, but, you know, there's no rush like there was before to get this sort of into the ongoing discussions. You know, now it goes into the next phase. So I think getting it off as soon as possible is, you know, is good, but I don't think we have to worry about, you know, sort of last minute things.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with Mr. Gladwin. I will say though that I think that the sooner we send this out, the better. I think that because they just got finished with that first kind of phase of the education phase that they were doing, right now it's kind of like a dead period, for lack of a better term. And I think if you send something like this during the dead period, you get more eyes on it, because if we wait until they're starting to prepare for their second phase, they'll probably be so busy. They'll be so busy, they'll look through it, but it'll just be like, you know, look through it, throw it aside. But right now, while they're not really doing anything else because they're taking a big breath from all the work they did from the first phase, the educational phase, this is the time to really attack them. I think that's really important. That's something that I was speaking with the village manager about actually this morning, because I was telling her, I was trying to send her my travel schedule to Washington, D.C. and to Tallahassee. And I was telling her, look, like Christy, because she was like, why don't you go during this time? I was like, well, look, Christy, I'm going to go during like the legislature's down phase, so that I'm at one of 15 faces that they see that day. I'll just blend out. I said, but if I'm like one of two in like their down phase, then what I say will stick to them more and I'll stand out a little bit more. So I think it's
the other thing, they are going to be putting together an actual like plan. They already have a draft. So we want to give this to them before they finalize.
Right.
So, okay, so
can we go on to the next agenda item so that we can kind of conclude, please?
Yeah, so did we leave that at Mayor Nickerson? You're gonna just run it through you and the manager and the village attorney? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that brings us to H4, South Florida Water Management District. I think this is back to you, Mayor Nickerson.
Yeah.
Is this a long item or?
Yeah, I think that this was actually Mr. Gladwin asked me to put this on. Hugh, would you mind if we could hold it off till next meeting?
Yes, absolutely. I just asked you to put that in because there was a very important meeting with the director of the South Florida Water Management District who visited the river, but I actually put that in because member Kristen McLean is the person who knows all about that. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure it got in so she could give a report on all that. So obviously she's not here, so.
Perfect. So since she's not here, Madam Chair, and we already approved the agenda, let's agree to move it to the next council meeting. Let me get a motion, a second. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. So we can move it to the next.
I'll move for that to be pushed to the next meeting.
Second. All those hearing a motion in a second, all those in favor of moving H4 to the next agenda or next task force meeting, say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, the item is moved. All right, we can move on to H5, which is the next task force meeting, which is April 21st.
Madam Chair, that will be my last task force meeting.
I'm very sorry to hear that, Courtney. You'll be sorely missed.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that, but obviously, given the templates, or somebody can just take the notes and them for the next meeting, do it, but I will do it.
Is this your last one?
No, the next one is. No, the next one is.
Oh, the next one is. Oh, wow. We're gonna miss you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that works for you then, Courtney, right? The 21st.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does that work for everybody else as well? Okay. All right, great. So we'll leave that. Anything else from task force members on regular agenda items? No. Okay. Any unfinished business or general orders from task force members? Okay. Any new business from task force members before we jump over to Member Kirk? Okay. Do we have?
Okay, the two things we have open. I'm sorry, did I interrupt somebody? My bad.
No, sorry, Sandra, are you on the phone also? You're the 786 number?
That's me.
Oh, that's Chief Magnuson. Chief Magnuson.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha.
I'm still here.
Okay. Sorry, Member Kirk, yes. Can you do the rundown if you don't mind, or should I turn it over to Mary?
There's only one new action item that's added. That is for Mr. Mayor to shepherd the updated response letter through him and the attorney and the village manager. The existing ones, Mr. Mayor had one to reach out and invite Dr. Moran to a future meeting. Still on this, I assume that's still on your list? Yep, okay. And then the other one was the comments for the review letter, the response letter, which we just did in whatever it was, H3.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's what we got.
All right, great. Does anyone else, any task force members have new business?
No, we still have the resilience Kristen's thing on as far as what we have outstanding. Also.
Yeah.
You're talking about the presentation?
Yep.
The presentation isn't actually an action item at this point. It's just on for future agenda item. I
got you. That's why he's perfect now. You guys, hey, don't attack me now when Member Kirk isn't here. Don't attack the notes that I just know that.
No promises.
Oh man, you guys are gonna be like, oh my Lord, Nickerson.
We've gotten used to a certain
what is this?
Taking.
You guys are gonna get to like a motion to approve the minutes and be like, I guess Nickerson's minutes. I guess we'll have to approve them. I suppose. All right, you guys. I know it's past time. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here.
All right. Do we have anyone for good and welfare? Looks like just Mr. Gladwin. All right. Nothing else? Okay, great. No last things from task force members, just beautiful. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yeah. I motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, hearing a motion in a second. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Hearing none, the task force at 5:41 p.m.
Thank you.
You guys take care. Have a great day.